By God, it's already Wednesday. Can you believe it, baby? Yeah, it's June the 25th, Wednesday, hump day. I'm on the downhill slide. I got tomorrow, then I'm free for 3 days. Hallelujah. Anyway, I want to talk today about a different field of combat. We've got Ukraine and Russia slugging it out. We've got Israel and, Iran slugging it out. We got America helping both of them, God knows why. They're just a bunch of jackasses fighting each other, and we have no business in regional conflicts that pose no direct threat to us. Somebody said, what about our troops over there? My answer is, why are they over there? If you take them back home, the threat is gone. Well, let me read this. Beijing, China has been working on another war front, if you will. For several months now, Beijing has been hassling. Hold a second. There. For several months, actually for over a year, Beijing has been hassling the Philippines, Vietnam, Japan by invading their territorial waters. A long time ago, Chairman Mao Zedong, he was the leader of Communist China. A long time ago, he took a map of the South China Sea and he drew 9 dashes, forming a line covering over 2/3 of the South China Sea. And he said, traditionally, we own these. These are ours. Think about it a minute. Oh, yeah. Mr. Mao decided to declare some insane territorialism. Well, back in 2012, that's very recent, that 9-dash line claim went to the international courts. The courts deliberated on it for almost a year before they issued a ruling saying that China has no grounds, no evidence, no proof, no provenance of ownership of any of that 9-dash frickin' line. Yes, they have their own territorial waters, but they can't be claiming that Taiwan, Vietnam, Philippines, Malaysia, all these people, they can't be claiming that they're trespassing, but they do. So as China keeps sending ships into the South China Sea, as the Philippine Navy, as the Vietnam Navy, as other countries, Japan, start holding exercises because they're afraid China might one day turn these threats into an attack. You understand? What is China doing? They're testing the waters. They're pushing the fence to see if they can find a weak spot. Flying hundreds and hundreds of jet sorties over foreign countries while sailing your ships into their economic zones and waters, and then waiting till you're forced out, that's not good. That means they got something else in mind. And that something else is probably going to be war. We got to be ready for it. And here's what I want to talk about today. This is the center of my discussion. Beijing has implemented a draft. Now, over the years, since 1987, China has relaxed their military draft. They had a selective service system like us. They've had it a long time, but while registering for the draft has always been mandatory, Beijing they didn't pay any attention. They had other things to worry about. Who cares? We're meeting our recruiting goals. It doesn't matter. Well, it turns out there are tens of millions of young men who have failed to register for the draft. As of last year, over 40 million young men in China between 18 and 30 have failed to register for selective service. Well, we had that sort of draft for a long time, and we're talking about bringing it back. So what's the difference? Let me tell you. The difference is simple. The Chinese government hasn't pursued a failure to register case in over 38 years. So you think, okay, we haven't even busted one guy for failure to register. Doesn't matter, right? Wrong. Beijing's in trouble now. China's economy is slipping into the toilet. Rising tensions between provinces in Beijing. China has made a surprising move. They wrote a new and very strong, extremely strict selective service law. They've got a brand new draft board, people, and it is not screwing around. Let me read you from directly translated document. I love having a good Chinese translator on staff, and I do. One moment, take a drink, burp, get back to you. Oh, that's good. Time for the burp. And there we go. Okay. I'm going to read this in quote. There we go. It is the honorable and sacred duty of every citizen of the right age, 18 to 30, to perform military service and register in accordance with the law. The military service law of the People's Republic of China stipulates that the country implement a military service registration system, and every young man is required to perform the obligation of military service registration when he reaches the age of 18. A male citizen who has reached the age of 17, but not yet the age of 18 before December 31st of that year, may also voluntarily register for military service. Don't you love this double talk? Let's keep going. The registration for military service does not mean that it is necessary to perform active service in the Army, but that the state registers citizens of age in accordance with the new law. Failure to register with selective service will result in disqualification. Check this out. Disqualification from university education in all colleges, all universities, and all training schools, and all trade schools, and all apprenticeships in the country. Both private and public. Can't do it if you're not registered. Also, failure to register will result in financial penalties applied to the offender's bank accounts and could eventually result in jail time for the offender. The amount of jail time is indeterminate and will be addressed on a case-by-case basis. Forfeiture of assets, property, and cash is required as punishment for failure to register for selective service. Also, the inability to travel outside the border of his province is imposed. This includes overseas and other foreign travel as well. In addition, he may not seek employment in any government agency or office or private firms doing business with the government. Likewise, the offender may not legally marry or enter into any contractual obligation while he is unregistered. When a man reaches the age of 35, he is released from the need to register with selective service. About to wrap it up here. Be patient. Until that time, if registered, it is his duty, according to law and honor, to update critical information should he move to a new place of residence, change employment, or do anything which might be construed as hiding from or running away from the Selective Service Board. In a translation. What they're saying is this simple. If you're between 18 and 30 and you don't register for the draft, they're going to empty your bank account. They're going to get you fired from your job. You can't go to school. Any school name, you can't go. You can't leave your province, let alone your country. You are a prisoner within your province without an income. And if that doesn't do enough, they'll lock your ass up. Why is China getting so desperate in forming a draft at this time? Well, it is simple. They're in trouble. They're in danger of war on many fronts, and we're going to talk about it right now. And what I read was an excerpt from the document of declaration that was issued by Beijing and the Congress November 29, 2024. Now, I can only think of two reasons for this newly minted law. Reason number one, my opinion. The Army is not meeting its recruiting goals, and in light of their epidemic desertions, China's military may soon be unable to withstand the pressures of desertion, malingering, and mutiny within the ranks. That's happening now. They're fighting it. They're fighting their own people. Reason number 2, this is the one that's most probable. China is building up for war. Cries for reunification with Taiwan are stronger than ever. That's a scary thought if you think about it. It might also be a result of an astoundingly high desertion rate. Now, I wrote a book many years ago. It's still available on Amazon. Max Allen. It's called Paper Dragon. And in it, I cite that the combined armed forces desertion average at that time and today still is 14 to 16%. You understand desertion means you leave your post, they can't find you for over 72 hours. For some guys, it's over 72 frickin' months. What happens when 16%, let's take the middle, 14 to 16, let's call it 15. When 15% of your people are deserting every year, that's hundreds of thousands of deserters every year. You could populate the city of Salt Lake City with their draftees in a year. Yeah. And in fact, the number of deserters reported in a 2022 report would populate a small city like Boise, Idaho. But the desertions are going up, not down. You can only wave the flag so much before people wake up and say, not me. It's impossible to go after the deserters. When a deserter goes, he knows you can't touch him. So draft him, put him in, then he'll desert. Why? Because the drain on manpower to catch a deserter would cripple the People's Liberation Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Missile Division. It takes, on average, 5 people to hunt down and apprehend a deserter. 5 people. Okay. Multiply that by 300,000 deserters a year. Okay. And now you're up to 1.5 million people tied up either in the act of desertion or hunting the deserter down. 300,000. You understand? It would take every cook, typist, soldier, mechanic in the armed forces just to round up people who don't want to be in the army anyway. Okay? Perhaps this new conscription law is to keep ranks full amid the continuing mass desertions. Maybe, okay? Not only in China, but at Chinese bases and installations around the world. China's economy is in dire straits. They're in trouble. Their unemployment is now at 23%, and they're looking at 18% inflation. Sounds like the Jimmy Carter years, doesn't it? But they're 18% inflation, 23% unemployment. China's treasury, they're bleeding cash just to keep the population happy enough to stop them from erupting in even worse riots than they have right now. China needs a war to get out of the mess they're in. And what better way is there to get into a war than to invade Taiwan or attack the Philippines or drop a few bombs on American Guam? Okay? Some of their neighboring stand countries, Pakistan, Uzbekistan, Afghanistan, they all border China. China's not happy with any of them. There's a war right there. They could even make a play for North Korea or India. They need a real knockdown, drag-them-out war to save their economy and their society. Relations between China and these two nations, India, Pakistan, all of these, their relations are strained. And they're deteriorating rapidly, continuing to fall apart. They've got border disputes that are becoming clashes, not just arguments. They're trading artillery right now between Pakistan and China over Karum Pradesh. It's an Indian territory that China says belongs to them. Come on. China fighting Pakistan. By the way, both nations are nuclear. Should we worry? I don't think so. But look, there's no doubt about this. We're in a pickle. We're in a pickle. We got a lot more than just Iran's nuclear hopes. A bunch of crap anyway, trust me. Look into the facts. It's much cheaper for them to buy a bomb than to spend 30 years trying to make a bomb. Why don't people look at common sense? The real war danger for China is all around the South China Sea and bordering them. America's lucky. We don't have nuclear enemies on our border. In fact, the only enemy we have on our border, oh, it might be Canada. Like they're an enemy. Come on, the Boy Scouts of America would whip them. Or Mexico, please stop. Kill the drug lords and everything's nice. We're lucky. It's our unique geography that's protected us thus far. But China's got a draft now, and they're busting people and signing them up. You're in the army now. You're not Chairman Mao. And they're running them in. So what happens in the next few years, the Trump years, is going to depend on the leadership in all countries, especially China, the United States. And I'm going to throw any of the Philippines, any of your South China Sea people in there, because this is it. We're in the middle of terrible times. Wars brewing everywhere. Be aware, when Russia gets into a war, okay, great. If they were serious about it, they'd already have crushed Ukraine, but they're not. Russia's fighting a defensive action. China? Nothing defensive about it. They're challenging everybody. Why? Because we're China and we own it. Own what? Own everything. Give it some thought. Look into your history. Remember, if you forget your history, you're just going to make the same mistakes again. That's it. I just wanted to talk to you and tell you all about this draft that Beijing has. They've always had it. Now they're enforcing it. They rewrote it. It's a tough son of a bitch to deal with. God bless you. Pray for peace. I'm Max. That's the way I see it.